Hey guys, this is the Small Cap Investor. I'm here with Mitchell Demeter, who's the CEO of Sonic Strategies, as well as Michael Zagari. We're here to talk about SPETS, soon to be Sonic Strategies, the Sonic token that they're holding, the company's overall strategy, as well as why you should be bullish on this company. So Mitchell, obviously CEO of Sonic Strategies, the company, and Michael, I'll kind of let you introduce yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely. So my name is Michael Zagari. I'm a portfolio manager here with Wellington-Altus Private Wealth. I'm based in Montreal, Canada. So my investment philosophy is pretty simple. We run a sandbox approach, focused on artificial intelligence, data centers, blockchain, and nuclear. We feel that those four corners are basically a net for attracting capital in the next 5 to 10 years. And so, yeah, so we work with models. We invest clients' monies from high net worth clients to small, medium-sized investors. So, yeah, I'm very excited to be on the call, to be honest with you.
Beautiful. Thanks,
Yeah.
Michael. So I guess we'll jump right into it. I know a lot of the viewers here are not the most blockchain savvy, crypto savvy. For Sonic Strategies, essentially what it is the MicroStrategy of Sonic token. So I'll let you guys kind of go into what the Sonic token is, what it's used for, and why you're so bullish on this particular token as opposed to something like Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll jump in there. Thanks, Adam. Um, Ultimately, Sonic blockchain is a layer one blockchain that's built to compete directly with Ethereum or Solana. And the reason that we're so bullish on this token and we've just decided to build this entire company around this token and this ecosystem is that ultimately the team that's been building this out is some of the best in the world, and the technology that they've built is far superior to anything we've seen. They've got the transaction throughput that the chain can handle is over 10,000 transactions per second, and the theoretical max is up to 400,000 transactions per second, and time to finality is less than 200 milliseconds. So ultimately, the tech is some of the best we've seen. They've also been really innovating in the developer incentives, where 90% of the actual blockchain fees that are generated on chain go back to the developers. That's more in line with something like the YouTube business model, where the content creators are actually getting paid for creating the content. With this, the developers are getting paid for the engagement and the transaction volume that they're bringing on chain, which we think is really innovative. They've also done a few other things like the fee subsidy or transaction subsidy program, where wallets and applications can actually subsidize the transaction fees. Um, right now, with a blockchain like Ethereum or even Solana, if I were to send you $100 of a stable coin, say USDC, I would also need to send you a little bit of Solana or a little bit of Ethereum. In Ethereum's case, it's actually a lot of Ethereum. You need about $10 in Ethereum to actually broadcast that USDC back out of your wallet. And what the Sonic blockchain has done is they've made it so the application or the wallet can actually subsidize that. So I could send you $100 worth of USDC on the Sonic network, and you'd be able to send that out immediately without having to go and make that second transaction to get the native token. So there's quite a few different innovations that they've been building out that we love, that are really beneficial to builders. And so not only have they built the best tech, they've built the best environment for the developers to come and build their applications, which then obviously bring the users. So those are some of the things that we're really excited about.
Got it.
Aside from that, right now, Sonic Blockchain, it's sitting in around $1 billion market cap, compared to Solana, which is about $100 billion market cap, and Ethereum in around $500 billion market cap. And so we see this as, an asymmetric bet, where, the technology is superior, the team running the blockchain is world class, and it's just highly undervalued compared to the alternatives.
Got it. So it's just a lot cheaper and faster than something like Ethereum, but has a lot of the same kind of uses.
Yeah, a lot of the same uses, but then a lot of innovations on top of it. They basically identified a lot of the issues that Ethereum has had with scaling and with incentives and kind of the clunky properties of Web3 that have kind of slowed down that adoption, and they've made it better.
Yeah.
They've kind of addressed those, and so we think they've solved some real issues here.
Yeah, and I get with the market cap being so low relative, like Ethereum's at like 500-600 million. This, it's very similar in terms of the uses and the speed, but obviously the torque, which I know a lot of guys look for, is much higher than the upside.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess yeah, thanks for that. Let's kind of go into the Sonic Strategies model itself. Like the business model compared to something like MicroStrategy, because I know there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done here is we've been accumulating Sonic tokens. And our goal here is to kind of give traditional equity investors direct exposure into this up and coming blockchain. But with a model where every token that we're holding on our balance sheet is compounding. So we're running validator nodes, which earn a yield. And with those validators, other individuals and participants in the ecosystem can come and delegate their tokens. So they can basically lock their tokens onto our validator, and then we earn a yield on those tokens as well. So every token we hold on our balance sheet is automatically compounding and increasing our holdings. And then we've also been deploying a few other DeFi strategies where we're earning in around 9 to 15 and sometimes even higher percent annual, which obviously compound kind of our holdings. We're also right now working on a few different partnerships where we will be making investments into some of these up and coming ecosystem projects that will kind of increase the exposure to the entire ecosystem. And so essentially, what we're doing is, we've been building in this space for a long time. We were intimately familiar with this technology, and we see that there's a massive opportunity here. And we've kind of, focused our public market company on this entire ecosystem where people that might not want to go out and buy the underlying asset themselves, they can buy our stock through their traditional equities accounts or through their broker or their wealth manager and get kind of a more holistic approach or over exposure to the underlying asset and ecosystem.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like for someone like myself, I don't, want to go through all the complications of setting up a wallet and doing all the crypto stuff, but I'd love to participate in the upside of Sonic. So it's the perfect opportunity for someone like me who invests in stocks to get exposure, through traditional means rather than going and doing all the complicated stuff.
Yeah, and another thing that I'll add on there is that, often like we saw obviously the Bitcoin ETFs come out. We saw, the Ethereum ETFs come and we're seeing, a sequence of these ETFs that are coming to market right now. But often these ETFs don't happen until, most of the early upside has already happened. Once an asset is kind of, multi-hundred-billion-dollar market cap. And so that's kind of blocking out a large segment of investors around the world that maybe just don't want to go out and buy the underlying asset or aren't technically savvy enough, or they want to just deal with their wealth manager. That kind of first 100x of that asset is already gone. And I think that's where a company like ours, resonates really well, where we can kind of help provide that early exposure.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So there's kind of the upside from the token. You have the revenue, and then also I guess I would imagine a company like this, in terms of like expenses and costs, is pretty lean, right? Like you guys basically have no expenses. It's just no management.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the entire business is run by a very lean lean operational team. My background, I've built exchanges inside of capital markets or inside of public companies prior to starting this business. And, that we had 70 employees and, massive operating expenses. And in this business, the reason I love it is that, our revenues can scale up exponentially as the underlying asset appreciates, but our operational expenses don't increase.
No, that's awesome. It's a great model. There's a lot of companies that are just so expense heavy and OpEx heavy, where something like this, it's very lean. And I know investors do like that. But a bit more on the revenue model. So how exactly are you generating yield and revenue from these tokens with these validators? Because I know a lot of people don't really understand how this works. Can you just go into a bit more detail on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the kind of model that most people are familiar with is Bitcoin mining, where it takes, very expensive, sophisticated hardware to secure the network. And that hardware is processing the transactions essentially. And the way that Stonic network works is very similar to the way that the Ethereum network works, where it's proof of stake. And so basically the stakeholders that are participating in the network, they run some very lightweight hardware and they lock their tokens onto this hardware. And then that hardware is basically transacting and processing transactions across the network and securing the network. And in exchange for that, you earn a percentage of all the transaction fees that are processing across the network. And so right now the yields on the validator itself are in around 4.7 to 4.8%. That fluctuates with the amount of transaction fees that are being generated. But some people don't want to run their own hardware because there is a little bit of a technical challenge there, not like some technical savvy that's required to run the actual hardware. And so they can just come in and they can lock their tokens to somebody else's hardware. So we've been actively building out that side of the business. And in exchange, we take 15% of their rewards. And so right now, we've got about 3 million of our own tokens delegated to our validator. And then we've got just over 20 or 20.5 million of third-party tokens delegated back to our validator as well. And so that increases that yield that we're generating from 4.7 up quite a bit higher because of the 15% we're getting on the 20 million. And so that side of the business, all those rewards that are being generated, they just compound back onto the validator, increasing our overall network exposure.
Well, that's a beautiful model, right? You just kind of sit back and watch your money work for you, essentially.
Exactly.
These other people using the network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No, that's great. So let's talk about the treasury right now. What you guys have in it in terms of tokens, what they're valued at. And then I guess, how do you plan to grow it? Because I've seen companies like these Ethereum treasuries and these Bitcoin treasuries constantly coming up with instruments to add more to their treasury. Do you guys plan to kind of just sit on what you have, or do you plan to grow the treasury with additional tokens?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're sitting on about 8.3 million Sonic tokens. Those are valued at about 33 cents US per token right now. And we're actually, through some of these other the yield strategies that we talked about, we're increasing our holdings every single day. But we're also actively dollar cost averaging into the market out of our cash balance. And yeah, we are exploring a couple different ways to finance the company in non-dilutive ways where we can kind of get access to more capital and be increasing our exposure to the underlying asset all the time. So yeah, we've got a couple of conversations on the go right now. But yeah, there's a few different strategies we can deploy here.
Okay. And then for the token itself, I guess the main way you'd watch this grow is through the upside in the token itself. I know, like, during the last cycle, it used to be called Phantom, and it hit like $4 almost, where now it's at 33 cents. What are the kind of biggest catalysts for the token itself over the next, let's say 6-12 months that are really going to drive the price higher?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the last cycle, it did run up to $3.60 US, and they went back and they fixed a few of the main issues that kind of that affected them and kind of brought the price down throughout the kind of bear market. And ultimately, I think that just overall adoption. Right now, we've got every single day there's new applications that are being launched here, and people are really discovering that this is superior technology that compared to anything else that's available in the market right now.
Mhm.
On top of that, they're in the process of launching something called Spawn AI, which is a system that they've built out to allow anybody to build and deploy applications, including the smart contracts on chain on Sonic, with just normal language, which is completely new and nobody has done this before. So that'll be coming very soon. On top of that, Andre Cronje, who's known as the godfather of DeFi, he's been hinting at a few different applications that he'll be launching for quite some time now. He often talks about the fact that in order for him to build these kind of direct to consumer applications, he needed a blockchain that could actually handle what he was trying to build, and it didn't exist, so he had to go and build the actual blockchain first, and then he could build the applications. And Andre, he's known as Godfather of DeFi for a reason because he's actually got a really successful track record of building, different primitives and different applications that have changed the entire industry as we know it and have been adopted across multiple different blockchains. So he's got a project coming out. Nobody really knows when it's coming, but it's called Flying Tulip. Um, he basically talks about it being a competitor that would directly compete with Hyperliquid, which is a multi-billion dollar DeFi application. And he's also saying that it would compete directly with Coinbase and Binance, centralized exchanges of the world, where people wouldn't even know that they're working on chain. So that's an exciting one. And then there's a few other applications that he's been talking about that'll be coming. So obviously you can't all rely just on one man to support the whole chain, but he does have a reputation of changing the game. And then overall, I think that, every single day, the momentum is building here and more applications are launching and ultimately, the best technology that's available will prevail in our mind.
No, that's awesome. Lots of stuff to get excited for, I guess. And I guess, Michael, this would be a question for you. You come from a TradFi, traditional finance background, but obviously with your investment in Sonic Strategies, it's a bit out there. So what did you kind of see in the company, in the token, and what really attracted you to this particular, niche area of the market?
So going back, like if we go back even 5 years, just the appetite for risk and sizing risk appropriately for clients' portfolios has been there for a while. So we were early adopters of Bitcoin ETFs into clients' portfolios. From a traditional TradFi perspective, there was friction. Compliance would get involved. They would be concerned about either anything above 0% allocation. And so with education, working with a traditional dealership, we were able to get out of that zero allocation percentage and work our way 5%. Having said that, Bitcoin led us to other alternative asset classes. So we looked at Solana, Ethereum, XRP, but we always had to wait for the ETF version to be available. And it's exactly what Mitchell said earlier. It's almost like it's not too late, but it's a lot of the gains have already been participated on chain. So quite frankly, we're getting tired of waiting for regulators in Canada to approve an ETF product. There are advantages, of course, of having these ETFs because you can place them in retirement accounts, tax-free savings accounts in Canada. So that works. But what attracted us to the Sonic strategy itself is the differentiating proposition compared to what's available now, and the treasury type of structure that it comes in, as opposed to waiting for that ETF that may or may not arrive. But I like that. I like that we're pooling our assets with other investors. That we have one game plan. We all understand what we're buying as investors, and we want to participate in that early adoption. If we size our trades correctly, which we do for clients, that they don't take on excessive risk, this doesn't have to be a high allocation to add a lot of alpha to their clients' portfolios. So for us, from a portfolio management perspective, it makes total sense. From a strategy perspective, it makes a lot of sense because it does offer differentiating values compared to Ethereum. And we see Sonic really running, competing, and not only just surviving but thriving in the next 5 to 10 years. We see the adoption of tokenization of assets that Sonic could or could not play a role. I mean, we'll see where it goes, but assets are going on chain, real estate's going on chain. Loyalty programs like Starbucks is going on chain. So it's like everything is leading to chain. It's a question of what's the best technology, and we believe the best technology will win the battle. And we believe that Sonic is up there to put on a good fight. So we've added it to our models.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, just on tokenization, I even saw Robinhood started tokenizing, like, stocks. So basically, if you're not a TradFi guy, you can go to Rob, or a crypto guy, you can go to Robinhood, and they basically tokenize like Tesla, Apple, and you can go and buy the token, which in turn represents the stock. And to me, it kind of, I had this vision looking forward in 10 years where you can buy stocks like on chain, basically anything, OTC. So it's definitely moving in that direction. And yeah, to add to the point of getting in early, you guys must have been pretty stoked when you saw the whole treasury model, not having to wait for these ETFs. And I think a lot of institutional guys, even retail, like the whole treasury model, you're seeing companies pop up in all these different, Binance Coin, Chainlink, Sui, all these different ones. So I think, the institutional capital is definitely flowing into crypto, and it feels a lot different than the last cycle because now you have this bridge between TradFi and DeFi. So it's awesome to see.
Exactly. And what we like about it is that retail investors were actually first in this trade as opposed to institutions, and we like that because at least in our little small world that we're managing $40 billion of capital. Our practice is a piece of that, and what retail investors had access to these Bitcoin exposure, Ethereum exposure. Not as fast as the Canadian banks, not as fast as some traditional institutions, but the path to be able to get clients on board with this, because there's a knowledge gap, that was huge. We had to basically constantly write and simplify technology, but also simplify the utility of the technology and be consistent with that communication with clients so that we normalized the technology over time. It wasn't like a one conversation by the investment type of approach. It was multiple conversations, multiple webinars, fill in what we're trying to do, make sure that the clients understand the volatility and the potential risks, and then have them say, hey, listen, we're green light. And so our strategy has worked. It's worked. It's differentiated us among other portfolio managers. The results speak for themselves. I mean, just imagine being an early investor in Bitcoin and Ethereum and other alternative coins. And so you can imagine, we have some clients that look at their statements and say, like, are these numbers even right? Like, so we laugh and we're like, yeah, they are. So like, there's that aspect of it. So it's, there's a lot of work, but it's also, it feels like the work is being paid off and rewarded.
You can see the progress because I guess education and, kind of, people are a lot of traditional finance guys or retail guys have been, skeptical because they just don't know how it works. But it's probably nice to see the progress, and you have to explain less and less. Where now they're just going, yeah, this is a crypto investment. I don't need to be educated on what it is. I'd like to take some. So yeah, I can see why that's great. But I guess so. Lately, I've been seeing on social media and all over the news is alt season. Do you want to talk a little bit about what this alt season is, what it has been in the past, and why it relates to this cycle? Just for the kind of newer guys who haven't been around in crypto that long. And then why is this alt season important for a company like Sonic Strategies and the Sonic token?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that one. So ultimately, when people refer to alt season, they're kind of talking about when, the capital starts to kind of flow down from the large capped coins down a little bit further down the risk curve. And so traditionally, as the crypto cycle kicks off, most of the capital floods into the large caps, namely Bitcoin, Ethereum. And then as those have seen their early gains, then the capital starts to move down the risk curve. And then we see, Solana start to move. We start to see, other layer one blockchains start to move. And essentially what we kind of experience is that rising tide lifting all boats. And often during that stage in the cycle, that's when a lot of these new technologies actually get discovered. And that's what we're expecting to happen now is, we saw Bitcoin move first. Now we're seeing Ethereum go, and as people kind of start to look and explore, what could go next, that's when they start to, do their analysis and they start to see that, there is actually some technology that's being built over the last few years that's superior to some of these large cap tokens and blockchains. And that's when the adoption starts to kind of shift over to some of this technology that's we think is far superior, and the user experience is far superior, and the developer experience is superior. And so that's exactly what we've been positioning ourselves for right now. A lot of these altcoins haven't really been moving yet, but that's fairly normal for this stage in the cycle. And when they do move, they move really quickly.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that were, heavy in Bitcoin that are sitting on some pretty, significant profits, institutions as well. And I guess when those guys start to go, Bitcoin's flattening out a bit, they rotate to Ethereum, and then, when that starts to get a little toppy, they go to the, like you said, the higher end of the risk curve. So that would be where Sonic and all these other smaller ones are. So
Exactly.
largely,
And when we've got that much capital kind of looking, to move down the risk curve, from an asset that's, 500 billion or, multi-trillion dollar asset, and then they start to discover that there's this, a blockchain that is much better experience and it's sitting at $1 billion market cap, those coins move very, very quickly.
wow, that's awesome. So it sounds like we're setting up for a pretty exciting next few months, potentially years for Sonic and these altcoins. So yeah, I think you guys are in a great place. It's a great setup. I think you're very early. And yeah, super excited and happy to be a shareholder to the company. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you guys would like to go over or add? Michael, you as well?
No, I think I think we covered quite a bit, and I'm just excited for the future. I think everything's going on chain. I think that Sonic's in a great position. We're proud and excited to be part of it. So we're just gonna keep we're gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Awesome. And Mitch, yourself?
Yeah, no real final thoughts. I think that we definitely covered a lot here. If anybody's interested in learning more, they can definitely reach out to us directly at sonicstrategy.io. And yeah, we're happy to chat. And yeah, we appreciate the support from both of you gentlemen here.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this. And yeah, super excited to see what the future holds for Sonic.